Hello guys, welcome back once again to Pig Feeding Academy. So today we'll be discussing an important aspect of pig farming, which has to do with the feeding aspect. So please stay tuned, pay attention to grab all the details I have to share. So many farmers complain that feeding pigs is quite expensive. So in today's live section, I want it to be a discussion class where I'll get to share the details of the feeding components that I make use of and also how to. So pay attention, okay? I'm trying to set the mic up. So give me some time. So when it comes to this feeding culture in pig farming, protein, I would say protein, the proteinous aspect makes up almost the highest amount of percentage when it comes to the cost. So for me to reduce the cost of this protein, the expenses I make in this proteinous aspect of its ingredients, I had to derive a system, a system that has enabled me to be able to, yes, reduce the cost of feeding these animals and at the same time improve on their nutritional components. The major reason why I'm emphasizing on this is because I know the importance of this aspect. If you're able to reduce the cost of feeding your pigs, you'll be able to maximize your profit. And mind you, the aim is not just to reduce the cost of feeding these animals, but the aim is to reduce the cost of feeding them while still maintaining a quality nutritional value. Because many performers will be like, oh, feeding pigs are expensive, let me reduce this. No, that's not the aim. The aim is while you are reducing a cost, you are still maintaining or even improving on the nutritional components. So I'm going to share with you this strategy that I formed. Just give me some time, okay? Let me fix the mic. Feed keep on rising for so many reasons. Maybe high demand, lack of the raw materials. Like for instance, where we normally get our PKC. PKC has an unstable price structure. That's palm kernel cake. You can come and buy PKC that's 1 ton for 120k. Next time you hear that it has increased. Like that unstable nature of the feeding aspect of these animals makes you uncertain of what might happen in time to come. So you being able to understand ways to be able to manipulate this feeding aspect is going to help you a lot as a farmer. So the major nutrients that pigs need is one, energy. When it comes to this energy, you can make use of the maize, the cassava. Maize and the cassava meal is what I make use of, but there are other sources of energy for these pigs. And this depends on what you can get in your location. In the previous video I made, I talked about the feeding aspect where it is dependent on what you can get. There are factors you need to consider. Consistency, if you can be able to get this feed consistently, if it's within your budget, if you can make profit with it, and also some other things also. So when I talk about making use of maize and cassava, it's because in this location I can be able to find it, get it often, whilst still maintaining my budget. It's also budget friendly. But mind you, continuously buying this cassava and maize can chop into your profit. So I'm going to share details of how I got to manipulate and still make use of them and reduce the cost. I'm going to first of all list out these components. So when it comes to the energy aspect, I make use of the maize and the cassava. Then when we get to the proteinous aspect, I don't know if you guys can hear me. Please, if you can hear me, drop a comment, drop your favorite emoji in the comment section because I'm trying to check if my mic is working, okay? So when it comes to the proteinous aspect, like I said, it's very expensive. I make use of the granite cake, the fish meal, the blood meal, and the soybean meal. Mind you, I don't make use of all these things at once, as that as that will increase the cost, of course. So I make use of maybe a certain ration. Like for instance, if I want to feed the animals, I can use the blood meal and the soybeans and bambara nut chaff. Because bambara nut chaff is the major thing I make use of as the proteinous source. The bambara nut chaff, the soybeans, the blood meal, the granite cake, which I rarely use. Actually, I rarely use the granite cake, and then the fish meal. These are sources of proteins. Major reason why I'm mentioning a lot of sources is so that you as a pig farmer, I don't know where you are watching from. Probably drop where you are watching from in the comment section. You can be watching from Mexico, China, I don't know. So you can then be able to choose the one that you can find in your location. Let me go again. Soybeans, granite cake, fish meal, bambara nut chaff, then blood meal, yeah, blood meal, granite cake. I've mentioned those ones. So you can then select the one that suits your location, the one you can find at an affordable price, the one you can be able to find consistently and in a larger quantity. That these are the things, the factors to consider before you go into feed formulation. I've mentioned that in the previous video. So I've mentioned the proteins, the carbohydrates, that's the energy, the proteins, then the vitamins. Of course, vitamins like fruits, there are a lot of fruits I mentioned. The bush mango, the a lot of them. Pawpaw, right? Pawpaw. There are all sources of vitamins. In fact, vitamin is not something that I would emphasize on much because we all can get that from our location. I will be putting my major focus and energy into the first two. That is the energy sources and the protein sources. I'll be talking a lot about them. Then when it comes to the water, of course, you all know that clean water is very important for pigs. Okay, because most times a pig does not grow because it eats enough protein or carbohydrate. No, it grows because it eats a balanced ration. When a pig eats a balanced ration, they of course they would encounter an exponential growth. Okay, that is the major aim, formulating a balanced ration that contains what you majorly need. And you as a pig farmer, you can as well add bone meal, not as often, but add it. Add it seldomly. Yeah, sometimes you just add it. You know. Then mind you that even after getting this pig feed, not all stages of pigs require the same formulation. Most pig farmers make this mistake. And that is why you come into a farm and then you see the pig farmer feeding them the same feed. Then you now go around the pens, you now realize that certain stages are not performing well, while some are okay. You will not be asking yourself, are they not eating the same meal? That's a wrong question because they are not meant to be eating the same meal. Take for example, with the winners should not be eating the same meal with the mature pigs. No, let me give you an instance. Winners that we are just recently weaned, their meal, they were feeding on a proteinous milk, right? So you separating them from their sow is you trying to change them on a diet. And for you to be able to successfully do this without impeding on their growth, you need to understand that their meal should equally be at least proteinous, even if it is up to 18% protein. Okay? High protein, easy digestibility for piglets, of course. Piglets mostly rely on milk, though we introduce creep feeds and all those things. All these animals, the piglets, the winners, the pregnant sows, yes, they need a higher percentage of proteins. The piglets, the winners, the pregnant sows, the lactating mothers, they need a higher percentage of protein for them to perform effectively. Please, guys, drop your comments, okay? So we can continue. I want to confirm if my mic is working as I'm just saying. Okay, so let's now go to feed spoilage, okay? Feed wastage. Many pig farmers actually waste the feed of their animals. So certain factors can make you waste your feed. It's not just about feeding these animals, but feeding them effectively. Like I said, for me to be able to avoid wastage, you have to prevent, first of all, overfeeding. You have to prevent rodent infestation. Mind how where you pack the feed of your animals, pack them in a place where rodents cannot come and infest them. And they can even drop certain one or two pathogens. So for you to become a successful pig farmer, you need to understand this. I wouldn't emphasize much on this food wastage because on this food preservation because you as a pig farmer you should know what I'm rushing to explain is the aspect of the food of the energy and the protein. I want to show you how I managed to reduce the cost of feeding these animals. So the next aspect I'm going to talk about now is that aspect which is feed cost reduction strategies. The strategies I formulated to be able to reduce the cost of feeding these animals. One, you know, like I said previously, there was a time that PKC price rose up to 140,000, even more than that. The price normally kept on rising, kept on rising. I then realized at some point that during January period that the price normally falls down, the price of palm kernel cake. So what I did in that period was to go ahead and purchase this PKC in bulk. I normally buy like 2 tons and keep. So when it got to that period again, after the experience I learned from the previous hike in price, I had to go ahead and buy like four and then stock it in a place where rodents cannot infest on it. Then that is one of the strategies. Yes, buying in bulk to prevent price hiking, in a certain season. Understand the season where the price normally hikes, then buy ahead of it. That's one of the strategies. And when it comes to the second strategy, I want you to pay attention as this is not just a price reduction strategy, it is also a nutritional improvement strategy. So when my pigs bring out their droppings, I don't just discard the droppings to raise crops. What I do with it is I keep it in a very good environment that will necessitate and aid it to grow maggots. So from this maggot that I generate from this pig manure, I then wash it, clean it, and then dry it because I now use it as a huge source of protein for their feed and for my fishes. So this maggot is now what I will use to raise fish and equally feed the animals. Maggot is also a very good source of protein. Have you seen how I managed to use what I got from these pigs to equally generate protein for them? So agriculture is a cycle, like I always say, it's a self-sufficient cycle. Once you understand the fundamental principle, so once I get the maggots, I process it, I wash it with salt water, clean it very well to remove pathogens. I dry it, I heat it on fire, then feed the fish farm, because I have a fish farm too. Feed the fish farm, then equally feed the animals. So the major reason why I'm telling you this is so that you can implement these strategies in your farm and get good results. Okay? So let me now go over to another this thing that will help you, another strategy that will help you to reduce the cost of feeding your animals. We all know that agriculture, the plant aspects of agriculture would aid you to reduce this cost. So once you want to attain a certain amount of profit by reduction of cost of feeding your animals, make sure you use the manure you get from your animals after generating the maggots to grow crops like cassava, maize, hortalice, pumpkin, mention them. All these things are good source of nutrients for our animals. So if you're a big farmer out there and you want to reduce the cost of feeding your animals, grow these crops. Don't buy everything from the market. Try to grow cassava, try to grow all these crops. It's going to help you. Also, if you want to reduce the cost, like I said, try as much as you can to formulate your own feed. Understand the concept behind these nutrients. Understand the concept behind these nutrients. I've been able to give you what I make use of. I've been able to give you the energy sources. I've been able to give you the protein sources. So if you can be able to now check your locality, check your location. I don't know if you're in China or Europe. You can drop it in the comment section, okay? Wherever you are, you can be able to check your location. What are the energy sources I can be able to get in large quantities? What are the protein sources I can be able to get in large quantities? So once you check these, then you cannot be able to determine and tell yourself, oh, I will not go for this. I'll formulate it by myself. There are so many advantages that comes with you formulating the feed by yourself. At least you are now sure that yes, this feed contains this because I was the one that put it into the components, and not when you just rely on what the industrial companies tell you that oh, this feed contains protein. You are not sure. That's what they said. Okay, so you formulating your pig feed will not just reduce the cost, but it will also enable you to know that yes, I trust this feed as it contains what I actually used for it. So, guys, you as a pig farmer, I would advise you to make sure you formulate the feed of your animals. It is very, very important. It is very, very important. Formulating the feed of your animals will not just reduce the cost for you, to enable you to have trust in the nutritional components of your feed. So let's now go over to the next aspect. I've talked about how I've managed to produce protein source that is from the maggots. So once you make use of these maggots, I assure you that you would get a very, very nice result because maggots are highly proteinous and they are cheap sources of protein for our animals. So I'm going to, okay, so please let me set up something, okay? Give me like a few seconds. Like I always say, the feeding cost is very expensive. It amounts to a huge percentage of feeding animals, yes, of growing pigs. So you being able to reduce this waste and improve your nutrition is going to help you monitoring growth performance. So guys, I'm very sure that by now you must have gained a lot of information on how to be able to reduce the cost of feeding your pigs. So if this live section helped you in a way that you liked, please make sure you subscribe to this amazing channel and equally feel free to ask your questions. I'll be dropping the link to my WhatsApp group that contains a lot of pig farmers from different regions of the world. Please make sure you join the WhatsApp group and benefit from the advanced knowledge that I have to share with you. Also, recently I made a book titled The Pig Farmer's Journey. This book is not just a book, it contains my life experiences, how I got to start up my farm from an early age, and all the challenges I faced and the strategies I employed to solve them. It spoke about the breeding aspect, the food aspect, other reduction strategies. I spoke about a lot of strategies on how to reduce the feed cost. It contains the drug aspect, it contains my preventive dose. So all these aspects, make sure you get the book. I'll drop in the link of this book in the comment section and also in the description button of this video. In the description box of this video. So make sure you go ahead and get it and read. It's going to be very beneficial to you. Okay. Thank you very much. I believe that we have come to the end of today's live session. God bless you. See you next time. So remember to drop where you are watching from. Okay, whether from China, Japan, drop the name. Okay. Thank you very much and God bless you.